This is CBC Vancouver News.
Feel angry, it made us feel hurt, it made us feel upset.
The backlash continues to grow over Minister Selina Robinson's comments about the Middle East. Now some faith leaders say until she resigns, there will be no NDP MLAs allowed in some sacred spaces. Plus,
I was lucky to get 8 days because the Residential Tenancy Board could give you 48 hours to get out.
why some housing advocates say BC's tenancy laws need to change. And
it'd be great to see England and Canada play in the final.
soccer fans rejoice. FIFA announces the 2026 schedule with 7 matches being hosted right here on home soil. What that means for Vancouver's economy. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. Tanya is off tonight. More than a dozen BC mosques and Islamic associations have written a letter to the Premier urging the removal of Minister Selina Robinson. The calls come after Robinson made comments earlier this week about Israel being founded on, quote, a crappy piece of land with nothing on it. She has since apologized, but some local faith leaders say sorry isn't enough.
Feel angry, it made us feel hurt, it made us feel upset. And at the same time, it felt like a betrayal.
In the letter, signatories told the Premier NDP MLAs and candidates are not welcome in their sacred spaces until Robinson is out. In light of the growing calls for Robinson to resign, the BC NDP cancelled a fundraising event that was set to be held in Surrey tonight, where protests were also planned. A Maple Ridge man is sounding the alarm over what he calls unfair tenancy laws in this province, after his family was ordered to leave their rental home within a matter of days with nowhere to go. As Sohrab Sandhu reports, housing advocates say the long-standing tenancy policy needs to change, especially amid a growing housing crisis.
Not good.
62-year-old Frank Wachal is frantically searching for his next rental home after his landlord served his family an eviction notice so he could use the space for himself. The family contested the eviction but lost the case against his landlord, giving them only 8 days to move out. Desperately searching for a solution, Wachal reached out to a housing advocate.
They said I was lucky to get 8 days because the Residential Tenancy Board could give you 48 hours to get out. And it's like, well, that, how fair is that? I mean, there's no humanity in that.
The most common eviction notice upheld in BC right now is for landlord use of property. So a landlord wants to move into a rental unit, not because the tenant's done anything bad, simply because they want to use the property.
Under the current Residential Tenancy Act, when an arbitrator upholds an eviction notice, tenants are required to move out on short notice.
We'll be living on the streets. We got no place to go. We got no bank account balance that we could just throw money away. We got absolutely no place.
With a competitive rental market and limited housing supply, experts say finding a new place to live on short notice can be extremely challenging.
Asking someone to move on 48 hours is just absurdly draconian. It's, I think, as well, one of the shortest timelines in all of Canada.
Housing advocates say BC's tenancy laws need to change. Patterson says the current rules are pushing people to the brink of homelessness.
Now, looking out at the rental housing landscape, it's crying out for regulation. It's crying out for someone to, wade in and start to set down some rules.
For now, Wachal says his landlord has agreed to extend his tenancy until the end of March. But even with some brief relief, Wachal worries the battle to find affordable housing for his family is just beginning.
We're looking at an extra $2,000 a month. Easy.
Sohrab Sandhu, CBC News, Maple Ridge.
A BC woman is celebrating tonight. After a 4-year fight, she's finally won the right to bring her great niece from South Africa to Canada. The girl's mother suddenly died, forcing her to survive on her own for days. She's been in foster care ever since. ever since. But as Yvette Bren shows us, she'll soon be with relatives who can't wait to have her.
This small travel bag has sat packed for years. One suitcase stuffed with treasures, warm clothes, awaiting a child thousands of kilometers away.
All her possessions I have in a suitcase that I brought back with me from South Africa. So when we went to the Kruger Park.
Last year, Lisa Pine Mercier first shared her years-long battle to bring her great niece to British Columbia, a battle that began with a tragedy. Riley Ridland was just 7 years old when she was found alongside her dead mother's body on a rural property outside of Pretoria. She survived alone on noodles and peanut butter for more than a week in 40-degree heat. Somehow, she started the generator, fed animals, and ended up treated for malnourishment and malaria.
Honestly, I expected that because of the circumstances surrounding this, I would jump on a plane and go and fetch her and bring her home.
That's not what happened. Riley was caught in legal limbo for years. She lives in foster care, but wasn't legally considered an orphan because her father remains alive, despite the fact he gave up all parental rights. It took years of court applications, letters to Canadian officials, even a formal adoption in South Africa. Finally, late last week, a letter from Canadian Immigration, permission to apply for permanent residency.
I was thrilled. We were thrilled. We worked on this case long and hard. It was really a relief, and it really restored our faith in the humanity of the system.
The plan is to only tell Riley once her new passport arrives.
How much more real would it be when you hand her that passport and you say to her, you see this stamp? This is what this stamp means. And that means we can get onto a plane and we can be a family. Hello, everybody.
So far, that feeling, that family embrace, has been limited to short visits to South Africa. But soon they hope to hug for the first time on Canadian soil. Yvette Bren, CBC News, Vancouver.
As El Niño continues to raise temperatures and alter weather patterns across the world, here in BC, experts are keeping an eye on what that could mean for this province in 2024. Claire Palmer has more.
Rushing rivers, a more common sight on north-central Vancouver Island these days, after a series of storms led to rising river levels that haven't been seen in almost a decade in some places.
In the case of the Canberra system, it's been about 2 years since we actually spilled extra water for flood risk management.
The mild temperature has brought plenty of rain, but not enough snowfall, which could mean increased drought impact. Experts say as the snow slowly melts, it helps reduce the risk of wildfires, powers hydroelectricity dams, and irrigates farmland throughout the summer.
It's probably about 50% of normal right now, so for this time of year, and so that's not ideal.
The unusual weather has had detrimental impacts on ski resorts across BC this season. At Cypress Mountain in West Vancouver, the recent rain has washed away what little snowpack there is, leaving hills bare.
Yeah, we lost approximately 4.5 feet of snow from the top of the mountain throughout the course of the week that we had the atmospheric river.
People in Nanaimo also worried about the possibility of a third summer of drought.
I think everybody has their part, things that they can do. And then there's the people that are, like I said, just hoping it'll get figured out and it'll just sort itself out and go away.
I've been here 40 plus years, and this is probably the driest winter I can remember.
I think we all need to start thinking about that more seriously.
Experts say it's too early to determine what BC's drought conditions mean for water levels in the summer months ahead.
All the reservoirs are full, so that's good, but we'll have to see what happens here in the coming months to think about water levels for recreation, fish habitat as we move into the spring and ultimately the early fall.
Claire Palmer, CBC News, Nanaimo.
The rapidly warming temperatures has BC beekeepers on edge. Some say the early winter warming could put their colonies at risk.
Right now, we're worried because changing from so cold to so warm, is this deception spring or is this actual spring? And with the bees out flying, they're not actually finding much food. So it's very important that beekeepers are putting supplemental food on right now.
Beekeepers usually lose about 30% of their colony between January and February, so die-off is expected. But if there's another cold snap, bees that emerge early from hibernation may not survive outside the hive, especially with most flowers not in bloom yet. With colonies at risk of dying, Fraser says honey production will likely be down again this year. All right, it is time now to take a look at our full forecast. Let's begin with the temperatures around the region tonight. Beginning in Dease Lakes, you're at -16 at the moment. Prince George, a little warmer at -7. Snow in Williams Lake at -6, and Campbell River sitting at 0 right now. For tomorrow, Dease Lake is going to warm up to -7. It's going to be 20 degrees in Fort St. John, so much warmer up there. Prince George is going to see -2, and in Whistler we'll be sitting at 3 degrees for the high for tomorrow, and on the island 8 degrees as a high for Tofino and Victoria. Here in Metro Vancouver, pretty steady with temperatures, sun and cloud tomorrow with a high of 7. Those clouds are going to dissipate for Tuesday with a high of 7 as well. The rain is going to pop out on Wednesday with a high of 6. And that 6 degrees and 7 degrees is going to stick around for the rest of the week. Well, it's an exciting day for soccer fans in Vancouver. Today, FIFA announced the schedule for the 2026 World Cup. Canada will be hosting 13 games during the tournament, including a handful of matches taking place at BC Place. As Shoria Chetri reports, the city says hosting the tournament will boost tourism and ultimately the local economy.
7 FIFA World Cup games are coming to Vancouver's BC Place in 2026. That's one more than Toronto.
Super pumped. Like literally, it pains me to be sitting down right now. I want to be jumping up and down. We couldn't have asked for a better outcome.
Sim says playing host to the world's biggest sporting event will help put the city on the map and bring with it major economic growth.
I think the estimate is over $1 billion over a 5-year period leading up and after the World Cup, just on our local economy.
Local businesses says they are eager to get more people in the door to recover revenues lost during the pandemic.
Even now for Taylor Swift, which is going to happen in December, we are already getting reservations. So I would say it's a huge thing.
Destination BC says the World Cup tournament will attract close to 900,000 additional visitors to the province, and that's
the equivalent of probably 30 to 40 Super Bowls.
Businesses are already preparing for the large crowds.
On the busy events, most likely, definitely we need more staff.
Across the street, Boston Pizza at the Stadium District says they are on the hunt for more employees.
We are thinking to increase by maybe at least, I would say, 10%.
Vancouver residents are also getting game ready.
I just think that it will bring a lot of enthusiasm for the soccer fans. Help downtown business.
They're going to need more hotels. Like we have cruises coming and it's always full. They definitely need more hotels.
A 2023 report by Destination Vancouver found hotel demand could exceed supply in the city by the summer of 2026. But Sim insists there will be more hotel rooms available.
And we're working on, clearing all the regulatory red tape so we can build more hotel rooms. And we're starting to see that effect now where there are more applications to build hotel rooms.
He says Vancouver has a track record of hosting major sporting events, including the 2010 Olympics.
We've hosted 3 different World Cup events already in our city, and this just sets us up even more to showcase the fact that Vancouver can host great events like this to the entire world.
The Canadian national team is set to play at BC Place June 18th and 24th. Shoria Chetri, CBC News, Vancouver.
Tonight's 66th annual Grammy Awards put women in the spotlight. Taylor Swift made history, winning a 4th Album of the Year for a 4th time. And Canadian legend Joni Mitchell brought people to tears with her first ever Grammy performance.
Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels.
Earlier in the night, Mitchell received the award for Best Folk Album, and there was also some BC talent on hand. Singer Alison Russell and conductor Yannick Nesset-Seguin also won awards, and North Vancouver's Darcy James Argue was nominated for Best Large Jazz Ensemble for his album Dynamic Maximum Tension. Other highlights included Annie Lennox making an apparent call for a Middle East ceasefire and an in memoriam performance by Stevie Wonder. After the break, Atlantic Canadians are being told to stay home as the region gets hit with more than 150 centimeters and counting. That's next. A powerful winter storm is blasting Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. In some areas, it's bringing snowfall amounts that have not been seen in 20 years. Shayna Luck reports.
Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do this. Okay. Where's the shovel?
This is what many Nova Scotians woke up to again this weekend. Mountains of snow, the most in 2 decades. High winds bringing whiteout conditions, roads treacherous. For some, this was the only way to get around. In the Halifax area, plows are focusing on major roads and bus routes, but many residential roads are still blocked as crews struggle to keep up.
I heard there's a car behind there somewhere.
There's a car. And as bad as it is on the Nova Scotia mainland, Cape Breton is even worse. Officials there declaring a local state of emergency. They're expecting up to 150 centimeters of snow before the storm is done.
My house is completely covered with snow on all sides. The windows to the front of my house, usually I have to get up on a ladder to go and clean them. There's snow in those windows right now. That is everywhere. That is across our community.
Some drivers who have ventured out are getting stuck in snowbanks and abandoning their cars. Officials are asking everyone to stay off the roads, and the state of emergency gives them the power to enforce it. It also gives the mayor the power to draft extra help.
Now we can say anybody who has experience, who's got machinery, we need your help and we need it now.
And on Prince Edward Island, the blowing snow so bad, snowplows were pulled off some roads due to poor visibility, though they will keep trying to clear the main roadways. The last time the region saw this much snow was almost exactly 20 years ago, the infamous White Swan in 2004, a storm still talked about to this day. Shayna Luck, CBC News, Halifax.
Gun battles were reported today in Gaza's two largest cities, where Israeli operations were believed to be winding down. Israeli airstrikes hitting across the enclave. In Rafah at the Egyptian border, airstrikes left 2 girls dead. Rafah is now home to half of Gaza's population. Reports today said Israel's military would coordinate with Egypt on the northward evacuation before any full-scale ground assault. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said more than 2/3 of Hamas combat units have now been dismantled. Officials in Hamas-run Gaza say the number of people confirmed killed, fighters and civilians, is now well over 27,000. It's been nearly a month since Ottawa announced a temporary program to allow some extended family members from the Middle East into Canada. But the wait to get out goes on. And as JP Tasker reports, for at least one family, the wait was too long.
For Maher Alankar, the grief is overwhelming, watching his nephew in pain in a Gaza hospital.
It's really a tragedy that someone close to you is you cannot do anything for him and or her.
Alankar was trying to bring his sister Hannah and her 3 children to Canada. They are waiting for temporary visas, part of Ottawa's new program to get extended family out of Gaza. But she was killed in an Israeli attack before the Canadian government could deliver the necessary paperwork.
You can see it in the news, you can see it in a war movie, but when your bloodline gets killed, I cannot imagine how to get you that feeling.
Hannah's 17-year-old son Amr also died. Her 2 other children just barely made it through.
Me and my brother suffered a long night that day to live and to survive. We lived almost 10 hours of horror, of pain.
A freelancer for CBC News spoke with the oldest survivor, Zaina. There's shrapnel in her shoulder. Her brother Adam is writhing in pain with 3rd-degree burns on his broken limbs. Zaina is now his only lifeline in this war zone. The rest of their relatives in Gaza are dead.
When we came to the hospital, he was in such a crucial state. They thought he was dead.
Back in Ontario, Alankar feels like his family's been abandoned by the federal government.
You're trying to help, but the process or the whole system is not helping you out.
The government says it's doing what it can, but Israeli and Egyptian officials decide who gets out.
We'll continue to make sure that the people that were authorized by Canada to leave are able to. We've made a commitment to these families.
Nearly a month after the visa program launched, more than 1,000 Palestinians with a Canadian connection have registered. Not a single one has gotten out. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
Here we have a live shot of the Port of Vancouver. Coming up, why some are building a giant dragon out of Lego at Lansdowne Centre. We'll have that and more after the break.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
This is Vancouver Island is the brand new podcast that explores stories of island life. Each week, host Catherine Marlowe looks at the joys and challenges of living on the island. Subscribe on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts. And BC Today is the call-in show where British Columbians make their voices heard. And now you can watch it on television, stream it on CBC Gem, and hear it on CBC Radio 1 and CBC Listen.
Dozens of people were in Yaletown today celebrating the Lunar New Year at an interactive pop-up event.
It's important for the community to connect with their cultural roots, especially the younger generation, like the second and third generations who really want to learn about these traditions.
Hong Konger's Lunar Pop-Up featured cultural games, crafts, and workshops, and a language corner. The event was hosted by HK House and Vancouver's Kaifong Association. Well, to usher in the year of the dragon, a giant dragon sculpture made completely from Lego is getting brought to life at Lansdowne Centre in Richmond. Once completed, the dragon Lego sculpture will be made up of more than 8,000 pieces. The last few bricks will be laid by dignitaries on Saturday, February 10th, followed by a dragon and lion dance to help ring in the new year. That is your late news for this Sunday. Thank you so much for watching. For news anytime, visit our website, cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition. That starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Have a great night.